Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you in this daily Hindu analysis video in the morning. These videos come in the evening, MCQ lessons they come. 21st of October it is, and an important session of Monday. Important issues, facts, their explanations, additional data, and the articles we discuss every day. So do not miss these lessons, important for prelims, mains and interview, all the phases, and the evening lessons are totally exam oriented. So follow both the lessons, hardly 45 minutes they will take combinedly, and it's a important piece of information. 70% off is going on till 30th of October, and this off will be there, so that's important. And the paid platform available at just 159 rupees per month. 3 important faculties and the exam oriented videos are available there, and totally affordable one, so that's important. Thousands of students are understanding the importance of it, and they all are appreciating this issue. So it's not a burden, it's a great help for you in just 159 rupees per month. And regarding the payments query, any of the issues if you are facing, then you can call on these two numbers. Chat section is also available on the website there. PDF you are getting on Telegram channel, and which is given there on this Facebook group. And here the first issue from Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary, which is located here south to Brahmaputra River in Assam's Moregaon district. Here the scare of anthrax. Anthrax is a bacteria related infection. The bacteria's name is Bacillus anthracis. It's a dangerous one, and mainly animals they get this infection, but humans can also be affected if they are in touch with these infected animals there. So if you remember, many years back there was a huge scare that people are sending envelopes by post, and there are white powder like spores in that envelope, and when the people they touch it, then the infection is there in their bodies, and after some time some of them were dying because it's a dangerous disease, and it requires a medical diagnosis. It may get resolved, it may kill you. So a spore forming bacterium is the main cause and mainly affects animals. Human can become infected through contact there. Okay, and inhaled anthrax is harder to treat and can be fatal because it reaches up to your lungs, and the infection is really dangerous. So now these buffaloes who were dead because of this bacterium and these spores which are there, so highly infectious one, and the carcass of these dead bodies that is separated there. But the vulnerability for these rhinos population, that's really scary, because rhinos they are very less in number and they are endangered too. So if this will catch them, then certainly it is going to be a huge problem. Okay, so that's the issue. They may ask you about the geographical location there, and Pobitora, it is there in Assam south to Brahmaputra, and it is close to Kaziranga, and all these protected areas in Assam, you must go through their locations, and the flowing river adjacent to them, these are important ones. Next, a very important issue of IPC. IPC was made by Britishers after 1857 rebellion, and it was IPC 1860. We discussed this issue when we were discussing the sedition law, and I told you that the sedition law was not included in IPC 1860. Later, after 10 years, it was added there. So they were promoting the good governance at that time, and 1860 they codified all these laws because they saw that this way we cannot manage this country, and for the administrative regions and just to control the populations, we have to codify these laws. So IPC was created, and the spirit was master and servant. Masters were Britishers and Indians would be servants. So this was the aim there. So that's why this is the problem, and it is continuing in the country till date. So a total overhaul change is needed here. Till today, only some additions and deletions have been there, and the total change in the IPC, a new IPC, was not available till date. So that's why Ministry of Home Affairs wrote to all the states and territories asking suggestions to amend the various sections of IPC, and 2 important committees are also established, and these are the committees of legal luminaries. So that's why it's important. So many problems are there, like an example is given here. Uneven punishments are there for crimes, like if the snatching of chain or bag that happens on the road, then the lady can be killed because the bag's strap that can pull that lady towards the road, and there may be a major accident, and there can be injury on head also, and there can be a slit throat case also. So these are very dangerous, these are life threatening, but the punishment is given as a normal theft case. So these things are inconsistent. But the bigger worry is that they should take the same spirit there, and there must be a improvement in the IPC. It should not be any controversial like the recent UAPA amendment bill and the act which became controversial, because many issues are there where there can be misuses and there can be excesses in the cases, and innocent people can be vulnerable there. So these kind of issues cannot be there, and they must take care that it becomes a good revision, this becomes a good replacement there, and no more controversies there. And the people should feel safe, and they should not get afraid of the establishment there. Today the things are like that, people are more afraid. They think that police and all these things are to scare us anyway, to control us anyway, and they are a kind of a boundaries on our freedom. So that's the issue. It should not be there. That should be a enabler, and there should be a positive mindset about the establishment, and the right IPC provisions, they will make it possible. Important for GS paper 2 especially. Okay, so they are talking about the change in IPC and CRPC also. CRPC came after IPC. Next, as we were explaining the issue of corporate tax rate cuts, and I was explaining this issue, fortunately that there is a clear case of inequality in this country, and India is one of the most unequal country in terms of populations there. The richest people are living there, and the hungriest kids are also living in this country. The people who are living in the harshest conditions, they are also living in the same country. So that's why in this country, if any provision comes where the support is given to the richest people and the middle class and the poor people, there is no relief in their taxes and all. So this is really unjustified. So that's why now even Abhijit Banerjee, the Nobel laureate, he said that government must reverse the decision of corporate tax rate cuts and the PM Kisan scheme, because as he explained these issues of anti-poverty measures, that these things are bringing negative impact to the economy, and they are not any support. They are just a temporary change, and they are a minuscule support in their incomes, and that will not last for more than a few months. So that's why they must take them back, and they are putting enormous pressure on the treasury there. In both the cases, they are stripping of the government of their financial capacity, because with the issue of tax rate cuts, lesser receipts will be there, and due to PM Kisan Yojana, where around 75 to 90,000 crore rupees will be needed there, these are excessive expenditures. So both the issues are troublesome, and today India needs expenditure, mainly the public expenditure, and government is not capable. So that's why these are very crucial issues, and the Narega wages, they need to be improved, and for that government needs to allocate higher amounts there. So additional amounts are needed every year. After 6-7 months, these funds are drained, and they are always waiting for their wages. So higher allocation is needed, and this is crucial for the demand in the rural economy, which is totally in a sad condition. So that's the issue. Important for GS paper 2 and 3. There is a whole interview of Mr. Banerjee, so you must go through that. Very important one. SARC University move upsets academics. You see, SARC University, or the South Asian University, established by these 8 SARC countries. These 8 countries, and they decided that it will be established in India in 2010. It was established with the 2 postgraduate academic programs, and now important university established in New Delhi, and it started giving masters and MPhil PhD programs in applied mathematics, biotechnology, computer science, development economics, and IR and law sociology issues. So that's why it's important, and the degrees of university are recognized by all the member nations of the SARC. So that's why it's a major area where the cooperation is leading, and it's a very important area of higher education. So it's a big boost to the relations too, and an important part for soft diplomacy. So that's why any positive thing which is possible, that should be applied here. Now there is a controversy. A recent notification came where they said that the applications which will be invited for the president post, they will come only from Indian nationals. This is really problematic because 8 nations are involved. How can you bring this kind of notification? Although it is established in India, but it was established after the consensus of 8 countries, and it is a good thing that they decided to establish it in India, because India is the leading nation there and they all respected its condition there. So that's why it's really unfortunate that when we are bringing this notification that the president will be there, a Indian national, this is totally wrong, and that's why academics are concerned about the situation. They say that it is a condition where all the universities of this country, they are under a lot of restraints, and in the similar manner they are doing it with now South Asian University. This is very prestigious and important, unique type of university because it is established by SAARC countries. So that's why, that's the issue. Every year admission tests, they are held at multiple centers in 8 countries. So all countries are involved there. Students are coming from all the countries. It's an important center. So that's why this kind of controversy should not be there. So this ambience which is going on in this country, everything nationalism and Deshbhakti, everything, and the oversensitivity regarding the issues, the nationality issues, citizenship issues, these are going on. So in this type of ambience, this additional thing can be really derogated to our image and our position there. And these are sensitive nations. We need to improve our relations, and here this thing can be negative. Next issue, a positive one, with our neighbors. Maldives is a important neighbor there. It is located south to Lakshadweep Islands, and now the new government which is there, President Ibrahim Soleh, which is there, and he's supposed to be a pro-Indian party. So we are trying to raise this level of our relation. Defense cooperation is the area where we are working, and in next few months we will elevate this thing. A lease of Dornier aircraft will be there, and that will be bringing the Maldives under India's coastal radar chain network. It's a broad-based issue, and another issue of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief exercise, it will be part of it. So in these 2 areas, Maldives will be cooperating here, and already we have given 2 advanced light helicopters there, and they are giving their great services. India gifted these 2 ALHs in 2013 to Maldives. So that was something really great. But after that, the government which came, they decided to withdraw all these proposals, and they even said that take back your helicopters. But now we will cooperate here. The new establishment is there, and it was established, this network was established especially after the 26/11 attacks. India began setting up the coastal radar chain network to monitor the movement of traffic on the high seas. And Mauritius, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, they are already a part of this network. Now Maldives, it is also going to be an important part. Recently the conclave, Goa Maritime and Conclave, that was hosted, and it was hosted by Indian Navy. There also they discussed this important issue. So littoral states, they are heavily focused, especially in the Indian Ocean region, and Maldives is such a country. It's a Muslim country, but the cooperation is extremely important. So this is a positive one. If we talk about the neighbors issue, and the last one, the university issue, that was a negative one. So you can see clearly an important difference and a area of approach where we should go in a particular direction. So this is also important for GS paper 2, and this issue was also important to GS paper 2, and you may say also for 3, because academics are involved here. Next, the liver issue. India is a country where maximum number of liver problems are observed. Means one of those countries. And 2,000 liver transplant surgeries are carried out annually. This is highest in this world. So instead of all these instances, we do not have a India specific transplant data on a single platform. This is really unfortunate, and this shows our priorities. I always say we have to prioritize these areas, and here we are missing those priority. Everything is important to us apart from crucial issues. If you talk about economy, employment, health sector, higher education sector, no debates we see. And that's why I show you the linkage of media in every issue. Why? Because it creates the biggest impact, as it has created impacts for Mandir Masjid issues, Pakistan issues, Kashmir issues. They could have focused on those problems. India is going to be a capital for all these troubles like diabetes, cancer, other non-communicable disease, HIV, tuberculosis, neuromuscular disorders, and chronic kidney disease, heart disease, you may say coronary heart disease and all. So India is going to be a capital very soon for all these problems, and none of them we are cleared of till date. So that's why these important strategies are going on regarding TB, HIV and other NCD issues. But we have to do a lot, and the local funding of the researchers is the prime thing that we need today. And we do not have a platform where all these important data are available. So it's an important initiative, first of its kind in the country, and initiated by the Liver Transplantation Society of India. And the registry aims to collate national data of the procedures and their outcomes. So that's why it's important. And all the states are requested that voluntarily they must give all the information, they must share their experience and the treatment course that they followed and the way these surgeries and their outcomes were available there. So that's an important issue. Okay, so that's really crucial for GS paper 3. And you may say 2 also, because these kind of policies are needed. Next, international scenario. Kurds leave besieged Syria border town. You see, the issue was going on, and I explained to you with the map that northern Syrian part and all these cities like Ras Al Ain, where these problems are going on. 2 days back, we saw the issue that America and Turkey, they talked about these issues, and some restraint was put up there by Turkish forces, because America said that you may be into a lot of economic trouble. We may put all these sanctions and do not disturb this area and do not force Kurds too much there. The IS camps are there, and many of these terrorists are fleeing from that area and the camp. So that's really unfortunate. So although some restraint was there, but some forces were active there in those regions, and Turkey said that America has to make compromises here, and they have to accept these terms of a secured area network here. Turkey on Sunday said Kurdish fighters were withdrawing from the border town of Ras Al Ain under the agreement brokered with United States. So both countries are working on that, and if they go towards a positive constructive phase, then it's really good for the world also, because it's a major controversy and many consequences will be there if again the IS like forces will be active. So that's why important. Kurds won this war against IS fighters with the help of US training and weapons, and Kurds were the major force against IS, but Turkey considers them as terrorists, and it started invading these Kurdish areas and targeting Kurds there. So that's why this problem was there, and America threatened Turkey against that. So that's the issue. But the largest base in northern Syria, the Sarin area, from there US forces are withdrawing. So what are going to be the consequences of it? We will have to see. Next issue, Bangladesh, a small country, and it has become very progressive, and it is defeating India in many international indexes. This is all well known a thing. So it's on a path of progress, and that's really a great thing. And you see, the Rohingya issue became so controversial, and all kinds of issues we saw. We could not see any collective effort by these big countries, including India, in the Rohingya issue. We knew that security issues were there, and there was a huge campaign against these Rohingyas people and all, and everyone was discussing this issue as we are discussing some terror groups. But all were not terrorists, we all know, and any solid information against Rohingyas collectively was not available, as these were all involved in some terrorist activities or not. But we saw heartbreaking pictures on internet that in a rainy night, without any slippers in their feet, and these kids were moving to some other unknown area, taking their luggage with them. So this was really a heart melting a picture, and that was really a slap on the humanity, because collectively all the countries, if they come together, they have major capacities and they can tackle these issues, and they could put pressure on Myanmar there. But all the countries, they want to save a lot, then they want to expand there internationally, and collectively they failed in the Rohingya issue, and we saw the condition of all those kids and women especially. So that's the problem. Now we have seen Bangladesh has taken steps. This is the only country which has taken steps regarding Rohingya issue in a positive manner. They gave them space, and in the Cox's Bazar area they were allocated camps, and now it gives a particular island, and it is located there in the Meghna river's flow, and it is the coastal area there. This is a sensitive area, vulnerable to these cyclones and all. A lot of devastations were there in the past, but the dearth of land is certainly there, and they are all going to be there on this island, and 1 lakh refugees will be settling on this muddy island. So this acceptance is there by these Rohingya populations, and they are agreeing to move on this Bay of Bengal island there. So it's an unfortunate time. They are just roaming here and there, no place to live, no country to live, no state is there to support them. But we have to take collective steps there. These are serious blots on the humanitarian grounds, on the collective humanity of this world. Next issue, these two are important for GS paper 2. Okay. Next issue, the Brexit deal. You see, the technical details are not important for us because we cannot understand these issues in their entirety, and these are unique things for these countries. The geography is important for us. As I explained to you that the deal which was signed between EU and Mr. Johnson's government there. So the issue was mainly related to Northern Ireland and the important 1998 Good Friday Agreement. On the basis of that, Northern Ireland was established, and the hard border areas and all these things are existing there. Now with the new agreement, the hard border issue may be cancelled out, and what's going to happen, what kind of consequences will be there, we will see, because 10 days are left. 31st October is the last date for that, and they all are pushing for that, and nobody wants the no deal exit there. But Mr. Boris Johnson is in a kind of a very complex situation, and whole Britain is in a very complex situation. So we will have to see, we will have to wait for that. But this geography is important. You see, this is collectively called UK. 4 countries are there in UK: Scotland, Northern Ireland, England and Wales. These 4 are there. And important cities, you must remember the location. Ireland is there, its capital is Dublin. Belfast is capital of Northern Ireland. This is Wales here. And Scotland, Edinburgh is the important city, Glasgow is the important city, and it is England there. London is the capital there. So these are very important matters for the geography. English Channel is located between France and UK here. Celtic Sea south to Ireland, and here this is Irish Sea, and this is Isle of Man TT. This is an important island there, and it is North Sea east to UK. Here it is Denmark. So between Denmark and UK it is North Sea, and northeast to it, this is the Scandinavian Peninsula where Norway is starting. Here these are highlighted lines that I gave to you, so please go through them. Once you will understand some things here, but many of these things will be clear after 31st of October, so we will have to wait for that. Many more articles will come on this issue. What are going to be the implications for the India's relation, and what are the consequences for the European Union collectively? What we have to see, we will discuss there. Next issue, after Mamallapuram, the reality of asymmetry. The writer Shyam Saran said that the issue of asymmetry is certainly there. If we see the basic thing, we are a $3 trillion economy today. China is $14 trillion. there is a huge difference of $11 trillion, and we are targeting of $5 trillion economy till 2024 in the next 5 years, and that also looks impossible today with this much of growth rate and these kind of issues. So you can see the basic ground is very much asymmetric, and from here all these things they start. We have to see the history there. You see, when Vajpayee was there, Vajpayee Hu Jintao, the summit happened in 2003, and after that important considerations were taken. The special representative mechanism was established and a political settlement was reached for the boundary issue. China acknowledged that Sikkim is a part of Indian Union. Later, when Manmohan Singh came, then Manmohan Singh and Wen Jiabao's summit that happened in 2005, and first time they showed Sikkim as a part of Indian map. So this was a kind of a very positive thing between India and China. So they solved many of the issues, and the boundary question was also settled in a way, not in its entirety, but in a way it was settled. They discussed two important issues. They accepted that prominent geographical features would be a basis for determining the border, and there was an acknowledgement that interests of settled populations, and with that there were indirect references for Tawang region in Arunachal Pradesh, where important monasteries are there. So always this issue is controversial, and due to that Buddhist linkage and all those territorial issues, China claims a lot, and this is really illegitimate to say, but it said that it's a part of Tibet. The Arunachal Pradesh is part of Tibet, but it is certainly an official part of India, and we have fought a war on those issues. So Aksai Chin is now under Chinese occupation, and Arunachal Pradesh is there with us. So there cannot be any trade-off, and both the areas are belonging to India. But China, due to its aggression and its higher capacities, it is occupying some areas there in the Aksai Chin. Now sporadically we see these conflicts. Doklam was somewhere indirectly related to these problems. We did not join CPEC, so a lot of bitterness were there in our relation, and that's why the Doklam happened. But after that the Wuhan summit happened, and that cooled off the problem. Now the second informal summit happened in Mamallapuram. So we have to talk about the existing guiding principles which were established during the Manmohan Singh Wen Jiabao phase. They arrived at a consensus on 4 key points. First, the prime thing and the basic thing, we have to accept, both we have to accept. India is not a threat to China, and China is not a threat to India. If we do not accept that, and there is any slight confusion regarding that, then we can go nowhere from there, because everything will become controversial and the trust will not be there. Next, enough room is there in Asia to grow for both the countries, and the cooperation is critical. We have discussed this issue in much detail, because without cooperation there is no alternative, and both countries will flourish. Asia is a huge region, and there is no need to fight with each other. Cooperation will lead both the countries on the path of progress, and China has to consider these issues, that India is also a indomitable power there. Next, settlement of the border issue is a must. As in the past we have seen this kind of statement by Chinese establishment that China is not opposed to India's permanent membership of UN Security Council, but these issues must be settled. So this much positiveness were there, and that's why the US aspect was not affecting much. We signed an important civil nuclear deal, and issues became controversial after the 2008 crisis, and as our policy inclined more towards America, then the problem started, and China took India in a way a kind of an enemy there, because too much inclination it observed towards America for India. So that was the phase. But before that we were growing at 8 to 9% per year, and all academics, they expert that they accept that thing. So it was a great growth, and that's why China took India too seriously. Today, in comparison to that phase, China does not take India that much with seriousness. It takes America with all its seriousness. India is important, India is crucial market for China, but the kind of importance which was given to India in that phase, that certainly is not visible today. Even there evolved a concept of Chi India, and that was an icon of a good progress between the relation there. So that's why we have to learn from that phase. As I told you, there is a huge gap and the growth rate is declining for this country, especially for us. It is also declining for China, but for us it has a important negative significance. We have set targets for our economy, but the growth is decelerating. So that's why it's not a good thing. And the issue of 5G and Huawei, we have to decide about that. Trials were there in India for Huawei, but later they were stopped, and the American pressure was there certainly. Now a good thing is that in this informal summit in Mamallapuram, the agreement to set up a high level ministerial mechanism to deliberate on this issue is an important takeaway from the summit. So that's why this will solve a lot of issues. We can take the example of TikTok. Many of the Indian youth, they may be seen dancing on the platform there, but it is a Chinese company and Chinese app, and India is the largest market for that. Indian youth, they have shown all kinds of expertise there on TikTok. That's a prime example. It looks like we are the best country for these kind of things. But you see, the issue is of the digitized world and the involvement in that world, and show the leadership in that thing. We are using Chinese app, so China is an undisputed leader there. We are not that much huge there. In a separate article, we were discussing that all the major internet giants, whether they are American, whether they are Chinese, Indians are nowhere there. So that's why we have to make a lot of progress there. So some requisites are there, and we have to understand the Chinese strategy. China is trying to neutralize all these issues, and in this informal summit, it showed a lot of bonhomie and cordiality, and that we need to understand there, because it is also kind of a restraint there. It did not show this kind of restraint with Pakistan and Nepal, but it tried it with India. Why? Because there are two ways. Whether you target the other nation, you threaten it, and you put restraints there, like America does. And there's a different way that you show a lot of cordiality and bonhomie there. So in this way, both the countries, they cannot go against each other too much. So that's why it's a kind of restraint. So we have to understand that. And it shows that the dynamic unleashed by the power asymmetry between two countries, that's totally visible. So a useful and positive development was there, but should not be over interpreted. We have to calculate a lot. China has already calculated this issue, and it behaved in that way. But for us, we are in a unique situation. We are a growing nation, but our priorities are not upright. You see, anybody would observe India from above, what it will observe today. These are Mandir Masjid issues, Kashmir issues, Pakistan issues, everything is like that. Politics and all, these are really nonsensical things to discuss internationally, but these things are being discussed. Why? Because this is the present ambience there in this country. We do not discuss higher education, we do not discuss health sector, we do not discuss international relations there, we do not discuss these things in a standardized manner. How we discuss international relations? China is trembling in fear, Pakistan is begging. These are our titles, and these third class media channels of this country, these are really shameless. Sometimes it looks like that we are behaving in the same way as the Pakistani media behaves. There is no difference at all. This is really unfortunate. We have to take these discussions towards a standard. You must watch all these important strategic debates on various other platforms. There are certain programs on Rajya Sabha TV. There are programs on the RT network. There are programs on the CBC network, and there are programs on Al Jazeera. The serious debates we see there, although they may be different, they may be biased, or they may be something else, but the way, the manner is really appreciable. But those kind of things we do not see here. And why I'm discussing this thing? Because every time the connection is there, and the media creates a lot of political pressure there, and political pressure defines a lot of things in India today. The domestic politics is certainly affecting the international relations there and the issues there. So that's why it's an important connection. So every time we need to discuss that. Later, the links, which can be a key, and the growth is the prime mover there. We have to focus on our growth. The priority must be set, and the experience between 2003 and 7 we have to take inspiration from. China treated India as a serious contender in geopolitical contention and was more sensitive to Indian concern at that time. But today India is not. It's a kind of an enemy there, and we both are behaving in a Cold War situation. So that's why we have to take steps. We have taken some good steps, like the upgradation of the Quad group. India, Australia, Japan and America is there. Malabar exercise, an important one between India and America. We have invited Australia there, so that's really a good thing. And one thing then that we need to improve a lot, that is the immediate neighborhood. We must satisfy these countries. Chinese intervention is there. A huge confusion is there for these smaller countries. So we have to take a pledge there that we will improve our relations with our neighbors. The Maldives example was good, but the situation with Pakistan, maybe in the future with Bangladesh and with Myanmar, these issues must be solved, especially with the Nepal country. And the perennial problem of poor delivery on projects, that should not be tolerated anymore. This is the typical problem of this country, that we do not follow up our project with all that enthusiasm, the way we announce them. Chabar example is the prime example there. So this is a big mood off for other countries, and when the Chinese intervention is there, then China clearly wins the situation, because India is not very much serious in the following up of all these projects. So that's why this issue must be intolerable now. And if India does not wish to live in a China dominated world, then it has to take these important decisions, and it has to make difficult choices now. That's the only way for India, and we have to focus on our power gap there, which is huge, and the $11 trillion GDP difference is seriously huge. We have to focus on that. So that's all. We will meet again tomorrow with many more important issues. One small issue that is given in the PDF. Thanks a lot. Keep watching. It was Amit Sani.